Hello, hello, hello. This is Tooth Be Told. This is Dr. Kyo Dumpert.
This is Dr. Walter Aka.
Dr. Gary Dennis on this last day of Black History Month.
Yes, the shortest month of the year. Okay. But but we actually do have a very, 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 very special guest, a good friend of mine, a good friend of everybody's because she's an incredibly nice person. Dr. Jamie Hardy. She's a pediatric dentist. We've had pediatric dentists on here before, but what makes her very, very special besides just her personality is that she is actually going into partnership with somebody to open a brand new de novo dental office. And, dentists, I mean, you guys can agree or disagree with me. We don't work well in teams. So this is very interesting to see how this is all going to happen. I know one other team that actually is an endodontic group. And I'm just like, I'm shocked that they're a team because dentists usually fly solo, right? We're all islands within ourselves. So it's just very interesting to see that there's another team that I know of. So I want to talk to her about that. But before we do that, we always try to start our podcast by just kind of telling us our crazy dental stories and what happened with us this week. So, being our guest, Dr. Jamie, you want to start?
Well, thank you guys for having me. I'm so honored, first of all, to be here. And great introduction. I hope I'm just as nice as you say I am. But I think my craziest story, still to this day, is always related to residency, Bronx Lib. I saw some crazy stuff. I think the one that tops it all, though, would be trying to go to lunch was always a field trip, right? If we got lunch, because we were really busy, because we saw a lot of patients. So at the hospital, the dental clinic was across the street from the hospital, like on Grand Concourse in the Bronx. So if you know anything about Grand Concourse, it's not the best of neighborhoods, but it's usually a lot of hospital people over there, a lot of staff, walking back and forth. So as a group, some of my co-residents and I think it was maybe like 4 or 5 of us, and we were like, oh, we had a long lunch. Let's go get something in the hospital to eat because we had like these little cards or whatever. So we're walking across the street, not paying attention, just kind of walking and talking. It's a lot of other people around. It's broad daylight. And there's like this homeless guy who's pushing, because in New York for bottles and cans, you can get like so much money for them. So it wouldn't be odd to see somebody pushing a shopping cart with a whole bunch of bottles and a whole bunch of cans. So they're just like walking in front of us, and he kind of tries to like walk past us, and it was like 4 of us. So, we gave him room, let him walk past with his cart, and he gets in front of us and immediately turns this way. And then he just like breaks the bottle on the shopping cart and he starts coming at us. And so my first instinct is, oh, we got to get the heck up out of here because I'm not about to fight no homeless man. I don't know what you've been taking. I don't know what kind of super strength you got. But I feel like they be having like different kind of strength, right?
Oh yeah. Yes,
so I'm like, dang, we right here by the hospital. Like we were literally maybe less than a block from the entrance to where we were going. And there's always security at the hospital. So I'm just like, oh yeah, we got to go. Like, I'm moving. And then there's a guy in my residency program. He was he used to be in the Marines actually. And so he like is pushing the guy to just kind of, back him up. And so he's pushing him. And I'm like, okay, I'm trying to get everybody like, y'all, let's go. I'm like, listen, leave him alone. Let's, push him once and keep going. But the guy turned back around to hit him on top of the head with another bottle. So I was just like, okay, I don't have time for this. First of all, we got to make it back to clinic.
She's worried about her patients.
I'm like, because if you understand, like Bronx Lab, I love my residency, but they expect you to see them patients. Like they expect you to be back. But anyway, we got, the security guard eventually came out and we got some people to come and help. But that was the craziest thing I had, just to go to lunch, like just to go eat lunch. Literally, it was like 11:30. I mean, I was like, it's too early for this, So that had to be the craziest thing. But luckily, Ramos, the guy in my program, he was good. He was just a little shook up, but he was good. So
I got a question. Did you end up bringing your lunch from then on?
Listen, I wasn't even worried about lunch. I was like, I don't need this money on this card. It's not worth it. I'm gonna just bring my lunch, or I won't eat. I'm a snack. Because I was just like, it's just not worth it. So yeah, but I thought it was crazy because we were in a group. Usually you think you're safer because it's more of you. So from then on, I was always a little bit more attentive.
Jeez. Okay.
I'm glad you all made it out unscathed.
Right.
Yes, me too.
Wow. Okay. All right, gentlemen. Anybody else have a story this week, and then we'll get into why Dr. Harding is here with us.
I'll do my story. I got a little quick story. Nothing like that.
I don't think anybody's going to top that, Gary.
There's no violence in my story.
Are you sure? We know what happened at HEB, Gary.
that was strictly nonviolent.
Okay, good.
Oh, it's funny though, because I actually was back in HEB yesterday.
Okay.
And it was packed again. And there were so many people wearing their masks like chin straps in there. And this one girl, she had to be like, she wasn't older than 25. And she was chewing gum and like popping her gum.
This is like Gary's worst nightmare.
Yeah, mask is down here. And I'm just like, oh my God. And then I was just like, I just gotta keep my mouth shut and get out of here. Cause I already fought somebody in here already. So I gotta get out of here. And I did, right? And I was not wearing my mask with my name on it.
Oh, good.
That's
don't
good.
do that anymore.
That's good.
So,
it's actually funny. I had a patient that came in this week. She had a mask on, but I guess she made this mask herself because it was made of like fish net stocking or something, right? With so there was literally, you could see the pores. you can see the pores. But here's the part that made it really wonderful or fabulous was she had diamonds that she put, like fake diamonds, or like the stuff that kids like put on their, like my daughter, like she bedazzled. Yes, bedazzled. She bedazzled it. And then here's the part that cracked me up. Every time I was like, okay, can I see what's going on? She would, oh, hold on, let me just take it. And she would take it off. And I'm like, lady, I'm not gonna lie to you. There's no need to keep taking it on and off. It's not doing anything for you. You know what I mean? There were like holes in there. It was crazy. I was like, this lady is just taking it to a new level, but it is what it is. I didn't have the heart to tell her, you know what I mean? And
that was a fashion statement.
No, really, that's all it was. It was no protection or anything at all.
You didn't like give her a surgical mask and be like, you need to wear this under your rhinestone cowgirl mask.
That did not coordinate with her outfit.
Thank you. I was gonna say, if she bedazzled her mask, do you really think she's gonna go unfashionable with my mask? Right. I doubt it. So I don't interfere with people's fashion sense when it comes to that.
Fashion-friendly black masks that I see so much.
There you go, with your name on there.
not with the name on.
Kyle, any stories for us?
I was waiting to hear Gary's story.
All right. Let me tell. Okay, so I had two children actually that I was treated the other day. Right, back to back. Right, one was like 17. It was a second molar. I told him, hey, when the anesthesia wears off, the tooth is going to hurt, right? Take some ibuprofen, right? So he's like, okay, no problem, right? So then I see the next patient. It was a 14-year-old girl who had hit in the face with a softball like 2 months ago. And she had like slight temperature sensitivity on our central incisor, right maxillary central incisor. It had crazed lines. When I tested it, it wasn't like significantly more sensitive than number 9. So I told the dad, I was like, let's just put some desensitizer on it, see how it feels. Like if it starts to become or get worse or anything, we can always do a root canal, but it's a definitive treatment. So like once you take the nerve out, it's not coming back. So he understood. So I'm putting the desensitizer on the tooth. And then someone from the front desk comes in and is like, the last patient says that the tooth hurts. And I was like, and I said, yeah, they just got a root canal. right.
He's so sensitive.
So passionate.
I said, tell them to follow the post-op instructions. And she's like, okay, right? So then I finished with the girl, sit her up, and she says, oh my God, I'm so happy I didn't need to get a root canal. If it was going to hurt like that after, right? Right?
So you
It was
just
like so
traumatized-
relieved.
You just traumatized the 14-year-old.
But I was
That's
like,
funny.
not yet.
Oh,
Right.
So
Right.
this doesn't work.
Just wait on it.
Gary, Kyle, Gary's the reason why you see traumatized adults.
Yes.
He messes with them and then
Yes.
he sends them to you like 6-7 years later.
Yeah.
And Kyle's like, what happened? Well, there was this endodontist I saw.
Wow.
No, not during the treatment. Only after.
Got you.
It only hurts after.
Got you.
Right.
All right, Kyle, anything?
So ever since COVID hit, I've been seeing a lot of cavities in elderly people, very poor oral hygiene, lots of cracked teeth, lots of broken teeth. And I've had 3 patients that they only have the bottom 6 front teeth left on them. And, we want to save them. We want to save them. One lady's, I said, you need a couple crowns, but you've consistently had cavities every single time you come in. And we go through diet history with her. I only have fruit. I don't touch sugar. I don't do, I brush 3 times a day. I floss. I just don't know why I'm getting these cavities. She's lots of medications, dry mouth, but based on what she's saying, she has perfect home care, perfect diet. So I say, we can do crowns, but if we don't figure out what's causing these cavities, you're going to lose them. It's a waste of money for you. So she comes in a couple of weeks later and she's like, I bit down on something hard. My crown's loose. She ended up snapping the tooth off. I told her she has to, we have to extract this tooth. The cavity was a lot worse under the existing crown than what I was anticipating. She flips out that, I can't believe I have to lose a tooth. Lady, you've lost 26 teeth so far. Like one more, you're going to be fine. So my hygienist is cleaning her teeth and she figures out the reason. This lady's sucking on mints all day that aren't sugar-free. So she's just constantly bathing her teeth. So got to the bottom of that one. Another patient comes in and she has her bottom 6 front teeth. Every single one of them is root canaled, stainless steel, screw retained post, crowns on top of them. And she had broken the porcelain off number 22 a year ago, and I had replaced it. She has an upper denture, lower partial. And I didn't do a whole lot of investigating at the time why this porcelain broke off a tooth where there's a denture opposing it. But she comes in for her, 6 month checkup. Number 23 had a periapical radiolucency that I sent her to the endodontist to see if he could do an apico on. She tells him she has a history of radiation. He doesn't want to do it, refers her for an extraction. And she's coming to me saying, I don't want to lose this tooth. What can we do? I said, there's nothing I can do. Start looking. The crown on number 22 is feeling a little bit loose. She has a 10 millimeter facial pocket draining sinus tract on 22. And she also has a draining facial sinus tract between 25 and 26. And so I start to figure out, I think these teeth have all vertical root fractures in them. And she doesn't want to lose her teeth. I take good care of them, blah, blah, blah. The previous dentist would have to make me a new set of dentures every 6 years. I've had 4 sets of, upper plate, lower plate. So it starts occurring to me that this lady is just beating her teeth. The last set of dentures she had made, he put porcelain teeth on because that's why she kept replacing her dentures. The bottom teeth were wearing the dentures through. And I think people are just extremely rough on their teeth. They're not taking care of them. They're sitting at home during COVID, eating sugar, eating snacks. And then they get mad at us when we can't save something that they've just not been taken care of at home. So just dealing with those people. One more patient, I did a bridge, 12 upper left, 12 to 14. By the time she got back after 2 weeks, she had worn through the temporary bridge. And I asked her, how's everything feeling? Number 12 and 14, root canal, everything's fine. Put the permanent bridge in, check the bite, everything's fine. Feels great. Send her on her way. That night, I get a phone call at 11:30 at night, and I go to bed early. I go to bed at 9 o'clock at night. So I look at this number that I don't recognize. I'm not answering this. So then my phone goes off. I got a message. It's this woman. I'm in so much pain. I spent $2,000 out of pocket on this, and I just made a mistake. I'm just really praying you can get me in tomorrow and take this bridge out and extract these teeth, because I just don't want to deal with it. Like, out of nowhere. And I'm thinking, hey, the bite's probably a little bit high. Like, calm down, lady. I get to the office the next morning. She didn't even leave a message on the office answering machine. She just went straight to calling my cell phone at 11:30 at night, knowing that I wasn't going to answer, to leave me a message that says, get me in the office tomorrow. That ticked me off.
She wanted VIP treatment.
She did.
Oh, no.
She did.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I had a gentleman that did that to me last week. He called me. It was a Friday. He called me Friday. And he's like, oh, my tooth is in pain. You know, I placed an implant on him. He's like, oh, my tooth has been bothering me. That area has been bothering me. I said, okay, how long has it been bothering you? Oh, well, you know, for the past like 2 or 3 days. I'm like, so you wait till Friday night at 11 o'clock to call me, thinking I was going to do something, right? So the next day I contact the office manager. I was like, hey, could we come in and so I can see this patient? He said, yeah, absolutely. I called the patient, no pickup. I called him like 2 or 3 hours later, no pickup. Then he calls me back again Sunday night. Yeah, I'm still in pain. I was like, that's your problem.
Yeah.
I said straight, I was like, that's your problem. I tried multiple times to get a hold of you.
Yeah.
I went out of my way to try to see you. Like, I was actually going to miss my daughter's swim class just to come see you. And that swim class, that's very important to me. You know what I mean? I don't miss those swim classes. You know what I mean? I'm paying for them to do the same thing every week. Every single week they do this. Nothing changes. Nothing changes.
Is
but
she like a tadpole? And
I don't care what cute name to give it. Nothing changes. Nothing changes. All right.
Yeah,
I have yet to
stations, and it's the same thing over and over.
Thing.
I stopped going.
I have yet to see any improvement. I have yet to see any improvement.
Well, it was COVID. That's the reason I stopped going. But
I actually we started again. So my wife was like, "Oh, it's good for them." I was like, I don't see any change to their skill level. You know what I mean? Like, back in the day, they would just throw you in the deep end and say what happens. You know, that's called child abuse now, apparently. You know?
I mean, Walter's right. Like, they're not learning any strokes. Like,
really?
They're not learning how to
like breathing. Is it breathing and stuff?
They learn how to hold on to the side of the
and pull themselves out of the pool.
That's
really?
That's really all they're learning.
That's it.
Oh my
and to hold your
God.
breath.
Yes.
Occasionally.
Okay.
Like a second.
All I know is I want to start a swim class so I can charge patients or parents to keep doing the same thing over and over again. Be like, you know, and then randomly take a picture of them, say they've gone to the next level. And that has nothing to do with their skill level. They got older. They got older.
Are they teaching them not to drown? Maybe that's what it is.
I think that's what holding on to the side of the pool is. Yeah.
But they don't teach them how to get to the side. That's the problem.
Right. Just
hold on. Just hold on until an adult comes to get you out. That's my $90. That's my $90 every month.
That's funny.
It's gone to absolutely nothing. But anyway, we digress.
I got one more story.
Yes, and then we definitely have to get to our
okay. All right,
here's why we are here, Gary.
All right, one story. All right, this one actually pissed me off. Right?
Surprise.
So I was really upset. I was really upset. It was like, it was a display of like the worst patient management. I was upset extremely upset for the patient too. Like, I get this call and they're like, oh, we have this from another office. It's at the end of the day, right? It's like 3:30. And they're like, we have this patient that's having an emergency. It's an emergency. Their face is swollen. So that's the first red flag. And I'm like, well, why are you sending it to me? But their face is swollen. And they need to come see you to get a root canal. And I said, okay, well, it's 3:30. I'm leaving soon, so they can come tomorrow morning. I'm at another office. I have an opening at 7 a.m. And then that office is all pissed off, like, why can't he come now? And I'm like, because I'm leaving. Like, their emergency is not my emergency.
Time to go.
You know what I mean?
You're
Yeah, I mean, so finally they agree, and the guy comes the next morning. So I walk into the office. He's there already. His face, like, I'm talking about, like, he has facial swelling. Like, his face is swollen.
Cellulitis.
Right? So then I get him in a chair, and it's swollen. It's going under the body of the mandible, like it's buccal space to the submandibular space. Like I feel like if it was like 2 more days, he probably would have had like Ludwig angina, right?
Yeah, let's explain like how critical that is for anybody that doesn't know why we're all looking at you like, holy crap.
So
probably best he waited 12 hours to see a dentist.
Right, yeah, he should have gone.
Right. But the thing was he was at a dental office the day before.
Right.
Like they saw him. Okay. Right. This is how I started to get pissed off. Right. So with Ludwig's angina, what happens is you get swelling under your chin. It will start to push on your airway, and it will close off your airway, and you could basically suffocate and die.
Yes.
So it is definitely an emergency situation.
Yes.
And it can travel down into your chest, into your heart, and they have to completely fillet everything open to clean everything out.
Right. Yes. So the one thing that people the one thing people don't understand is like any kind of infection will find the easiest path. Right. It'll go through the bone, and once it gets through the bone, it'll find the easiest path to just keep going. Right. And there's spaces that are between your airways, your trachea and everything, your bronchial and the skin. So like there's airways and there's spaces that allow the bacteria and the infection just keep traveling, just keep going.
Basically, it's a highway to the heart for when it's
a highway to the heart. That's very well spoken. So that's why, it's important when you see someone with swelling, 1, figure out what space, and then 2, try to get them help. That's the most important thing. Help. Don't wait.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So I asked him, I'm like, well, you were in the office yesterday. Did they give you some antibiotics? And he was like, no.
Wow.
Right. So now I'm getting more pissed off. Yeah. Right.
Incision and drainage, nothing.
Just some antibiotics. Someone has facial swelling. Antibiotics. Yeah. Like the most simple thing. Right. So then I look in his mouth. And I've seen this guy before too. I've done root canals on him before, right? And I had told him, I saw him like 6 months ago, and I told him, I was like, look, you have this other tooth over here that it has a crack on it. You need to get this tooth treated. All right. Of course, it's that same tooth. Look in his mouth. The tooth is now like being pushed out of the socket. So it's elevated like a good 1.5 millimeters above the rest of his teeth. Right. And the crack, like you can see, the crack is it's so visible, right? So then I touch the tooth, and it's like wiggling all over the place, and I'm like,
if no one
can't see, they can't see that.
Yeah,
sorry.
okay. So if you go on into our YouTube page, Tooth Be Told Podcast, just search that Tooth Be Told Podcast. You need to see Dr. Dennis doing this. That's his explanation for tooth movement or dancing, whichever one. We don't know yet.
Right. So it has class 3 mobility. Right. It's wiggling left to right, back, forth, up and down. I was like, hey man, your tooth is cracked in half. This tooth needs to come out, and it needs to come out today, like right now. But I can't take it out for you.
I'm not gonna do it
because I am in the dark. I do not take things out.
Let me tell you how important it is.
Right? And I said, but I'm gonna find someone to get this taken out for you right now. So luckily, there were some general dentists in the office, and one of them agreed to take the tooth out for the guy. But I was just so pissed off that the other office, that a dentist saw this patient and did not at least prescribe antibiotics for someone whose face is swollen.
Yeah.
I was like, this is just you
Well,
know.
here's a question for you, Gary. You looked at this tooth. You could see the crack. Why did they think that a root canal was needed? And the tooth was moving.
Well,
So were
here's
you were you going to
there's so
take the
many.
tooth out, do
It
the
was
root canal?
there were so
Put
many
it
red
back.
flags. Like, first of all, like I rarely am going to do endodontic treatment on somebody whose face is swollen, just because like it's going to be such a hassle to get them numb, and the procedure takes time. So like they're going to be there. That's the situation when people are like, "Oh, root canals are the worst things ever." That's the situation.
Yeah.
You do a root canal on somebody's face is swollen and can't get them numb. That's going to be the worst experience of their life, right? So generally, if someone's face is swollen, I give them antibiotics and tell them, "Hey, take these antibiotics. Come back in a week when the swelling's down. Then we'll do the treatment." So that's the first. Like, this patient should have never been sent to me. And then the tooth's cracked in half. Like, if you just looked in the mouth, you know, see, I have a feeling that's what never happened, is they never looked in this person's mouth. They didn't give me antibiotics. I was just like so upset. But at least
you're still upset about it. I can tell.
I am, because it was ridiculous. But at least we were able to, you know, remedy the situation for him, get that tooth out, and get him some antibiotics.
Good.
And you know, get the treatment done. But I was really upset by that office.
So Dr. Hardy, as you can see, this is a therapy session.
I see, but this is necessary.
It's important to just kind of get out there, and Gary was very vulnerable right there, so we want to go ahead and clap him. I felt good for you, Gary. This is a safe space, you know. But can you please give us your background, and then we'll start getting into and diving into why you decided to go into a partnership versus just opening your own, like 99% of dentists do.
Right.
So just give us your background so everybody gets to meet you and understand, you know, who you are and how wonderful you are.
All right. So I am originally from North Carolina. And I was kind of exposed to dentistry a lot earlier because my daddy is a dentist. He's a general dentist in North Carolina, and so is my older sister. So, you know, so I always pretty much wanted to be some kind of dentist. I didn't know I wanted to do pedo. And then I went to Hampton for undergrad. And then from Hampton, I went to Meharry. So shout out Meharry. I know everybody can't see my shirt, but went to Meharry for dental school. And like my senior year or last year, I realized I didn't want to do dentures ever. And I did not want to do endo ever. So I was like, well, I just can't see adults, you know, so that was just easy for me. Plus I like the fun side that can be pedo. So I worked for a year in Charlotte.
I'm waiting to hear that fun side.
You're right. I'm not seeing the fun side at all. But go ahead.
I promise it's fun. I guess because I could be goofy and like don't nobody look at me crazy. But so then I worked for a year at actually a Medicaid office with it was like a multi-practitioner. So everybody saw kids, but we were all general dentists. And we had like 4 or 5 other doctors working in there, and we just like, you know, saw patients all day. So that was good practice before I went to residency. And then I went to Bronx Lab, as you know, for residency for 2 years in New York. And then I had a bunch of friends, honestly, who lived in Houston, who had gone to dental school with me. And they were like, you should just come to Houston because it's a lot of dentists. It's a nice area. You know, cost of living's good. Da, da, da. So I really just came to Houston to really just kind of see how it was. But while I was here, I worked at a corporate office and I started to study for my boards. So I was able to do that because it was the office that I was working at initially was a brand new practice. And so I was like between 2 different office locations doing pedo. And so I had a little bit of downtime. And so I was able to study for my boards. So while I was studying though, one of my friends, Dr. Combes, she's actually my partner now. She was in Dallas and she didn't really care for Dallas as much. She felt like she didn't, you know, have as many friends there. She just really wanted to change. And I was like, well, you know, you should try Houston. It's not far. So she came, and after she eventually moved here, I was like, are you studying for boards? And she said, yeah. So she was the person who basically I studied with. It was her and one of my co-residents, and a couple other people. We kind of would on Saturdays get together and study. So the whole idea of me even open a practice was really stemmed from me not wanting to stay in the corporate dental world for long. And then also me realizing like there was a lot more opportunity out there as for pedo, doing private practice. But I also, because I had seen a lot of dentistry growing up, also knew the downside of private practice. My mother was very against me opening the office. She literally said, "What are you doing?" Because she was like, "You see," and I guess I have to explain it in that. So my daddy is very old school, hardworking. If I need to do something with the office 6 days a week, I'm gonna do it. So he like live, breathes, sleeps, dentistry because he loves it. He's really passionate about it. And my mom was just like, how are you gonna do that and still have a family and still, be able to travel and just do other things? Because my dad, he does those things, but he's okay with not traveling as much, or he was the breadwinner, so it's not like, so he had to work all the time. And my mom just didn't want me to be stuck to where I felt like I was bogged down to this one office all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, well, that you just brought up a real quick. I'm going to diverge for a second. Do you think dentistry is sexist because of what you just said? Meaning that like guys are okay to work 6, 7, 8. It's like they're hard workers. But if a woman tries to do the same thing, the first thing people think about is, well, how are you going to start a family? How are you going to do? It has more association with being like a mother more than a business or a boss.
Like, how can you do both?
Right, yeah. And I have 2 little girls, so I always ask. I've become very feminist, so I ask these questions now.
Good for you.
Yeah, I try.
Good for you. But I don't think the nature of dentistry is sexist. I just think that people's mindset on how you want your lifestyle to be has to evolve a little bit more, and not just so coming from dentistry, but more so the women who are in dentistry, tweaking it to where you can have both. Because I think a lot of it falls on while we want to have both. A lot of times our mindsets are closed and we don't think we can get both, or we don't think we can do all these things, or have help, or, be able to have kids and own a practice and things like that. But I've seen so many women do it, working, and they're pregnant, especially with pedo. We do nitrous all the time and sedation. So struggling with patients, and you got this big old belly. So I've seen a lot of women do it, and it's just, you just don't think about it. So I think it's more so, not that dentistry is sexist, but any career that you have that requires a lot of your time, you have to make a decision on how you want your life to look. So I think it would be, that would apply to anything really. So, so my mom, she basically was like, don't do it. And then she kind of got okay with it, because I was like, well, I didn't want to do it alone. So for that reason, I knew the type of dentist I am, in that I'm not the whole, I want to work on every Saturday, and I want to be working until 7 p.m. seeing patients and things like that. First of all, kids aren't good on the weekend nor in the evenings, so that's ever. One. But
or weekday,
or at 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. or 10 a.m.
I mean, you catch them. It's like a little sweet spot, 9, 10 o'clock, they're okay. But
that's why I don't see him at all, because I don't want. I miss that sweet spot every time.
You miss the sweet spot.
That's why I don't see him at all. I'm like, missed it again.
Right. So, so I started, as we were studying for our boards. We were kind of going over and venting, just like, how you guys like sharing stories, like, oh, what happened today? And she is working at a practice that's she was at the time working in a practice strictly Medicaid, and very like chaotic schedule. It was just very chaotic where she was initially. And then my schedule was the total opposite, because it was a new practice. But I was like, there are other things that I wanted to see different. So when I realized we had very similar work philosophy, and we had very similar work ethic. So not just how we wanted our schedule to be ran, but just how we would treat patients and, looking at scenarios on x-rays, just, we were very similar in that regard. Because she is personality wise, she's probably the opposite of me. So I'm more of a ambivert, I can be really outgoing or not. But she's definitely an introvert. So our personality, I think, has been the biggest thing that we're kind of like trying to compromise on. But other than that, I just really felt like I didn't want to handle and tackle everything on my own when it came to a practice. Just trying to, and also I just didn't know what I was doing. So even though my dad had one, he opened his practice like 40 years ago. So it's totally different. Trying to find like a new shell build and just, the whole process. And it was helpful having someone to go through it. But most of the time people do tell us like, I can't believe y'all are partners. You're not gonna be friends later. Like that's what we literally people at the bank were like, y'all just shouldn't do it. And I was just like, but we are. So how much money can we get? So that was interesting because I didn't realize partnerships were that rare. I guess I didn't know they were that rare.
Yeah, they're pretty rare.
That's why you're on here, because it is very rare. and we're going to ask you a lot of questions,
Yes,
good or bad, but we'll get through it. So gentlemen,
So
this is a question and answer.
when was your opening day of the new office?
So it's scheduled. So we haven't opened yet.
Okay.
So it's been a long process. But with COVID and everything, it's scheduled to be April. So beginning of April.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. So Lord willing, with the weather and electricity and all that.
And you talked about the offices you worked at before, and your partner were Medicaid offices. I assume a pediatric office is kind of forced into participating with that because there are a lot of children that are under that kind of plan.
Right. Well, interestingly enough, so the corporate office that I worked at, they actually don't see Medicaid at all. So when I started, I saw Medicaid. The last time I saw strictly Medicaid was when I was working in the Bronx. So I was seeing all PPOs and like some HMOs, whereas she was seeing, only Medicaid. So it depends on the type of. A lot of people in pedo have kind of steered away from just seeing Medicaid. What a lot of people have been doing is seeing like percentages. So, you'll see a certain number a month or something like that. So you can still service them because it is still, for pedo, it is still a huge population. And those are usually the ones that need the most work. Like they need the GA cases where we got to do full mouth, rehab. But it's still, you're still able to do a lot with like PPOs, insurance, and cash too.
Yeah. And as far as building the business and structuring everything, is that something you two navigated on your own? Did you have a consulting company that was helping through all of that stuff?
Mm-hmm. So initially we sat down and we wrote down a list of what we felt our ideal office looked like. So I wrote my own list, and then Dr. Combat, she wrote her own. And we pretty much came together and said, okay, this matches, like the major things. And we had our lawyer, we had a really good lawyer. Shout out to McGregor. He did really good with helping us to do our partnership agreement. Because I think the partnership agreement, before you even think of the logistics of the office, was something that was really important. Because, we wanted to be able to, especially with us both wanting to have kids and get married, we didn't want anybody to feel like they were stuck, but we also wanted to be reasonable. So like, after 5 years, we have the option of if somebody wanted to buy out the other person, then they can, things like that after a certain period of time. So I think the partnership agreement was the biggest thing that we did initially before we got a consultant. So we did end up getting a consultant pretty much after we had figured out the space and done the partnership agreement. We got the consultant, and we've been working with Beach Consulting actually to do pretty much everything else.
How did you decide on the location?
So it took a little bit of time because, Houston is there are a lot of dental offices just in general. And there are a lot of pedo offices that I just realized. And so we had to do our realtor, Jim Reed, he had a connection with Dentographics. So we did a Dentographics report, and we basically picked different sides of Houston, like Southwest, because I live in the medical center now, so like Southwest Houston, and then the West, and then up north, just to kind of get a good idea of where we felt like the trend of development was, which we've just kind of seen as, a little bit towards the west for Houston. But we felt like Katy was kind of pretty already populated because it was it was already pretty developed. So we did the demographics to kind of include those areas where we felt like new developments were coming. And so once we did that report, we went to see several different locations and just kind of see the city and the area and really get a feel for, okay, if I had to live here for 5, 6 years or 10 years, am I going to enjoy this neighborhood or this area? So that had a lot to do with it as well, just kind of like the growth and stuff. But the demographics report was great to just kind of solidify everything.
Nice.
So on our I'm gonna little plug here. So on our episode 77, okay, Dr. Abby comes on and actually talks about starting a pediatric practice from scratch. So like you guys can check that out if you want to. For the guys, I'm hoping that you guys have already listened to it because you're co-hosts and you've already listened to all of them, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I remember that one distinctly.
Remember that exactly.
Yes.
Of course.
But the one thing that I want to, so when you're in a partnership, the hardest thing is coming to an agreement on everything, right? So how do you guys make sure? So if you have 50-50, that means that if I agree on, I want to buy this and the other partner doesn't agree on wanting to buy this, how do you come to that conclusion and say, yes, we are going to buy or we're not going to buy?
So a little bit of that we have in our partnership agreement. So if it's something that's, I believe our agreement says like over $1,000, we have to both sign off on it and we have to both agree. If we don't both agree, then I think, and it depending on the price, I think it has to have like a third party person has to come in and kind of be like the mediator. So we actually 1, had that 1,000 or above.
That's not very much
so
at all.
Great.
That's like
I can order a week's worth of files. That's
Nope.
You're right.
Gary,
you're right.
Gary, I don't agree.
I don't agree with all this.
We need arbitration.
Yeah. But
wow.
we started it really low because
yeah, that
we
makes
knew
sense,
realistically we weren't going to like disagree that much because we were very similar with some things and we're both kind of laid back. So I think it has to do with the personality of the partners, right? Because all dentists are very particular when it comes to your work, but when it came to certain other things, I was like, okay, I would pick my battles a little bit. And so my partner, she's very much like that. So we put the in writing like certain stuff just so nobody's out here just buying $10,000 worth of something and just didn't tell the other person. But we have started to, like, it's because there's so many emails you get and there's so many small decisions that you have to make that I think it was important for us to have commonality with the bigger picture. So as long as the small things didn't intrude on what we felt like the big end result was going to be, we kind of, are a little bit laid back when it comes to, I like this or I don't like that. Even like equipment, like you said, those things get expensive quick. Like everything is over $1,000 with equipment. So I'm like, I want a foot pedal or something, or I want the chair to go back automatically, and it costs like $400 per chair to add a certain button on the chair. So I was just like, okay, you know what? I can just push the button myself. It's not that serious. I want to put this money somewhere else. So I think it kind of helps when we kind of self-reflect. So.
And then can I a quick follow-up? So within the same kind of mind frame is assistants, right? And front office, they want to test you a little bit, right? And so they're always going to do one of those things where they might try to pin you guys against each other. So how do you go about making sure that the level of respect is kind of equal, right? Versus, oh, well, I like this doctor a little bit better than this one, so I'm gonna do this for this doctor, but not for this one. You see what I mean? How do you guys make sure that that level of respect is equal when it comes to a partnership?
So because we haven't really had that scenario just yet, I think what we've been doing up until this point is making sure that everybody maintained equal respect prior. So for instance, like if we were answering emails, sometimes people, you know, you don't reply all, they'll send something just to me. Well, I always make it a point to be like, oh, okay, please CC my partner so she can see this as well, so she can go over everything. So I think it's something that more so we have to do, because other people we can't control how they're gonna do things. But it's something almost like in parenting, you know, you have to make sure that you demand that respect for the other person if you feel like it's not being fair or equal. But I think because Dr. Combats and I are just so laid back, little small stuff don't really get to us as much. But when it comes to, like, for instance, I feel like I'm a little bit more strict when it comes to like assistance and being I'm a little bit more particular with certain stuff. So I think, you know, I've talked to her about certain things. Like I don't want, I want to make sure we have an air of excellence in everything that we do. So, you know, tardiness and those different things, I'm very strict about. So it's kind of like if it's a positive thing, and if the other person, you don't totally disagree, and it's not, again, disrupting the bigger picture of the brand that we want for the office, then, you know, I kind of give that person free reign. But I guess we'll have to, as far as like assistance and things like that, we'll have to just kind of see. Hopefully they both respect us, but because we're friends, we have like a mutual respect for each other already. I think it's easy for us to both kind of make sure people respect her and she makes sure people respect me, vice versa.
Another issue that I've seen develop with partnerships, and feel free to not answer this if you don't want to, because a lot of times people don't like to talk about money, but in certain partnerships, you have, if it's a 50-50 partnership, depending on how things are constructed, but if it's 50-50 partnership where one dentist is producing, 70% of everything and the other dentist is doing 30%, but profits are split 50-50. So the guy that's not carrying his weight, or the girl that isn't carrying their weight, they're profiting from that other provider. So care to share how that's structured in your partnership agreement?
Yeah. So you're right. That's something that we put in the partnership agreement. So basically we're having it set up to where it's almost like we're employees of our practice, and we have percentage of production as well that we'll receive. So if for whatever reason, like, because we thought of it initially, like, what if somebody's out on like maternity leave for 3 months, or what if somebody, is on vacation for 2 weeks, or things like that. So we have it to where the person gets percentage of production for what you actually produce, and then the other part we just kind of split it after that part. So it could be a time where if somebody's constantly producing more, they are going to make more than the other person, and we just felt like that was a percentage we felt like was the only way to make it pretty fair, because you're right, you can't, if I'm producing all this money this month and you're not even here, then you're not getting no percentage of that production because you didn't produce anything.
So let's say you each do 100,000 in collections for the month, and you each get 35% of that as of what your collection is. There's going to be profit on top of that stays in the business on top of that, and then that profit gets split evenly 50-50 between the two of you.
Okay. So after overhead, after all the expenses and stuff, whatever's left over from that profit is what we'll split.
Okay, gotcha.
So you'll still make a little something, but you won't make what you could have if you had been done better production.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That was one of the reasons that the office that I bought, it was a 15-20 year partnership between two dentists, and the one really did all the production, which allowed the business to stay in business, but the other dentist kind of who started the practice kind of sat back and was able to collect a lot of that money, and there was a lot of resentment that built up over the years because of that. So I'm glad to hear
Right.
that's something that got spelled out early on, because that's definitely something that could
Yeah.
ruin that marriage.
Yeah, and I feel like the financials was the biggest part of the partnership agreement, because a lot of stuff that was put in there were scenarios that we would not have thought of. It was things, you know, when it comes to hiring and firing. It was things like, what if somebody does something that is unethical, and you know, you're in the news and you basically making a bad name for the brand. What could happen then? What if somebody gets injured, like disability, and you have to be out? Now I got to find a temp to kind of see your patients, or I have to take over your patient load, but you're still able to be like a silent business partner, because a lot of the business stuff is just handling, you know, not doing the patient work, but handling like the emails and the financials and checking up on insurance and stuff. So we had to look at all those scenarios. He actually sent us a list, and we just had to talk on the phone, and we just really talked through it. Like, would you feel like it's fair? Something that was huge for us was that neither one of us are married yet. So in the state of Texas, a lot of times, no matter what, once you get married, no matter what, the lawyer was like, it becomes common law, like your assets. And so you can like split them. So even if it was before or after the marriage, unless you have something in writing. So we had to pretty much say that we have like a prenuptial part in our partnership agreement, to where if I was to, you know, if either of us was to get married and then get divorced like years later, the partner can't now take a huge, you know, some huge portion. So we had to put in writing that both of us agreed that we get a prenup when we get married, in relations to the practice, at least. So which is another conversation I have to have with my future husband.
That takes some pressure off of you, saying, "Look, it's already been in the contract before you were around. It's nothing personal. Yes. It's just I got to follow the contract."
It's not me. If we're up to me.
Yes, if it were me, we wouldn't have one. But honestly, I will say that's honestly why we did it, because we both knew that eventually we were both single and eventually want to get married, and we were just like, but I wouldn't want to put them in a position to where they, you know, where she was getting taken advantage of, losing the practice, or, you know, I don't want to have a big payout. So it can just get real messy. So our lawyer was like, you know, I would suggest you do this. And I was like, you know, I'm going to just say you suggested it, and it's done. So it's done.
For you being a startup practice, bringing in new patients, you're not going to have a full schedule from day one, or maybe you will if you advertising the stuff.
I have been praying. I just need at least 5 people.
Yeah. So
Kyle, be positive. So Kyle's like, it's gonna suck.
No. So the reason, again, it comes back to the partnership. If you're a single dentist opening a new office, you're just worried about filling your schedule, one provider schedule. And I can bring on hygienists as I need to if I'm starting up from scratch. But with there being 2 providers from the start, how do you split up the patient load in a fair way? And what strategies have you put into place to make sure that you're both busy and you know, makes it worthwhile to come into the office those first couple of months?
So what we've really been doing is trying to make sure that we're not there at the same time. So in the beginning, we're not going to have those days that we overlap the schedule until we have enough patients that can, you know, that need that. And so the thing that will kind of help, and we just gotta have to see how much it is, but we'll be able to have more flexibility with the days that we're open in the beginning. So instead of only being open like 1 day or 2 day, if we need to open 3 days, we can, if we see like there's a need. So like, for instance, we looked at our competition in the area and we saw that a lot of them aren't really open much on Wednesdays. So I'm like, we're going to be open on Wednesdays to start with, you know, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, something like that. So we're starting off with just just having it as if we were by ourselves. So even if it's a day where I'm off work and, Dr. Combest is working, I'm doing the admin stuff. Or maybe I'm trying to make sure the staff in the front is trained or something like that. Because we kind of pretty much went into it knowing that first year, we just said we might not make no money to bring home ourselves.
Right.
Of course, we're going to make a profit, but take home, we just said, we're just going to pretend like we didn't have any take home this year. Now, hopefully we will, of course, but I feel like because we went in with it that way, it's more so we're going to see whoever come through the door. So, but for the days where the patients do overlap, a little bit of my corporate job, I was working with another pediatric dentist. So that's how I knew it was able to work and be profitable, because once you get enough patients, you can have longer days, almost like split shift, where someone's there a lot earlier and someone's there just not too late because it's pedo, but just a little bit later. And that kind of helps out a lot. And then also for us with needing sedations, because we are going to accept Medicaid as well. A lot of times they need those GA cases. We can have someone doing GA and that's all you're doing for the day while the other person is seeing, our regular schedule. So we've been kind of thinking of creative ways to make sure we're both being profitable and then not overlapping too many days.
So if you're actually going to be working maybe 1, 2, 3 days a week, how are you making up for those other days? Are you going to be working somewhere else? And if so, how have you kind of scheduled that so that you don't have any conflict of like what do they call those when they give you like a certain radius where you can't work?
Like a
non-compete. That's it. Yeah.
So what I did was the position that I have now, both of us are doing multiple part-time positions. So I work Thursday, Friday at a private practice in Sugar Land. And then Dr. Combest, she works for a company where she does she'll go certain days a month to do GA cases. And that's like pretty much all she does. So it's very flexible. And then I also work administrative things for my dad's office, like virtually. So we kind of fixed it to where as it got close to the office opening, because originally we were supposed to open back in August, but COVID and things like that happened. So we just made it to where we were both part-time and had a real flexible schedule once we knew we were closer to like the opening date. So that way the days that I know I'm going to be working, those are the days that Dr. Combest is off. And so she could be doing office stuff or whatever. So, but the non-compete wasn't too bad for me because I wasn't at a whole bunch of different locations. So I'm just at one office now and it was a little bit easier.
And how are you standing out? Because you mentioned how many pediatric dentists are around you in Houston in general. I mean, there's just a lot of dentistry in Houston, and there's a lot of corporations in Houston. So how are you standing out, and what are you using to market? I always tell everybody that the best marketing that I've seen so far is to do that Facebook, mommies of ... wherever location you're at. Just get into that group, because then when everybody moves into that area, they go on there, they ask the question, hey, where can I send my kid for a pediatric office or whatever it may be? And we all know that like 60 to 70% of appointments are made by the moms, you know what I mean? So
yeah,
like, how are you marketing? How are you able to do all that and stand out?
So our biggest thing has been marketing that we're a modern practice and that we do also see Medicaid in addition to the other insurances. But we did have to budget to where our practice was nice and modern, but we had enough to put more into marketing than the average. So we have been doing a lot more like trying to network in the community that we're in, like on Facebook. We did go ahead and hire a marketing company to help us with like our social media marketing. So they can do those Facebook ads, get into those Facebook groups, Instagram, things like that. And then honestly, just trying to make sure we were staying on top of what was what was the most relevant, like how we could get the most exposure. Because, you know, like I said, I'm more extroverted, so I'm more on like social media and stuff. But I know my partner, Dr. Combat, she's like, I don't even post on Instagram, so I don't know what to do. So I was like, okay, well, we need to kind of hire someone else to make sure they can be in charge of that part, like the SEO and all that stuff. So we went with we're using Affordable Image, and they have been really good with getting us started with making sure that we put our faces out there so people know you. I think the biggest thing, especially in those like Facebook mom groups and stuff, they want to know who the doctor is.
Right.
And especially with parents, they want to know who they're bringing their kids to. So even when we started like our Instagram page, we're still doing a lot of like construction update videos where it's literally just raw footage of us talking and walking through the practice and showing you different things that we've got in so far, doing things that were more personal to us. Because I think no matter how many other dentists there are, nobody is going to be you. So I feel like our selling point is who we are. And making sure that we're just like living up to our brand and having that good modern excellence that we always bring to every patient. So, and I really believe that even though there are other dentists in the area, I truly believe because of the area we're in, it's growing and it's enough patients for all of us to be profitable. But you just have to stand out in your own unique way. And I feel like that's just who we are individually.
Can you give us the Instagram name and Facebook name and all that for your practice?
Yeah.
Or soon
Yeah.
to be?
So the Instagram is literally Aliana _ pediatric _ dentistry. So it's literally the name is our Instagram handle, and it's actually the same for Facebook. I didn't want to be too creative because I felt like it'd be easy for people to just Google and let it all pop up.
Can you spell that?
And then we're actually on Twitter. Yeah, so Aliana is ALIANA.
Is that
so Aliana?
Is that somebody's name?
No, it's actually the name of the neighborhood.
Okay.
So the part of Richmond that we're in, it's right there, like 99 and Harlem Road. So Aliana is one neighborhood that's right there. And then you have like Harvest Green, which is another big neighborhood in the area. And so Aliana was honestly shorter for signage, not too many letters.
Right.
And when I looked it up, I feel like it meant I saw that it meant noble. So I was like, this is nice. I feel like it was very fitting. So
Are you on TikTok?
I am not on TikTok.
You need to be on TikTok. That's what I hear. I don't even know what TikTok really is, but you need to be on TikTok. That's what I hear. If you're a pedo, you gotta be on TikTok.
Yeah, because you gotta show your personality. Like you gotta be able to be outgoing and goofy and let people see it. So I'm trying to get my Instagram under control. I got all these apps I'm downloading so the posts look cool, and so I'm making my way. We're on Twitter though. So
see, Dr. Dennis has a really good Instagram. He really has some good Instagram.
Yes.
Like all jokes aside, he has he keeps it very up to date. I don't do anything on Instagram. You know what I mean? And I really don't. I don't do much of anything at all on social media. But TikTok, I heard it's really good to be on.
Yeah, but y'all such elite specialists. Like the people just come to you.
No,
that's a complete lie. Thank you.
I'm sitting here thinking, I don't know how things are in Texas, but in my area, I have really one pediatric clinic that I can refer to, and it's a 6-month wait to get into them, and it's an hour and 15 minutes away. So you guys talking about all this marketing on social media and stuff. If I had a pediatric dentist just walk into my office and say, hey, I'm new in the area, I'd say, great. Here's all my pediatric patients. Take them all. You don't have to do any advertising. I will send every single one of you. So I would think just walk around to the different or drive around to the different dental offices, because I know there's not a lot of general dentists or dentists in general that enjoy pediatrics. Correct me if I'm wrong, but is most specialties you have, whether it's medicine or dentistry, you have the general dentist or the family doctor referring to that. Do you have, as a pediatric dentist, do you have a lot of patients just looking straight for a pediatric dentist, or are they coming as referrals from a general dentist?
So I think now a lot of parents, especially those who have a lot of good dental knowledge, they do look for a pediatric dentist. Just because I'll get a lot of parents, especially those with really small, like those infant first dental homes, they don't really think to even take them to the dentist. So a lot of the relationship that you have like with a pediatrician and, believe it or not, the OBGYN, those will help to get parents in who only want to see a pediatric dentist.
Mm-hmm.
So I think as dental knowledge has grown, parents have started to want to take their, especially the real younger patients, to see us, because they feel like the office will just be set up to be a little bit more welcoming to younger kids. So the fact that your office looks fun and bright and has colors, like I've literally had moms when I was working at my corporate place be like, I like going here because the wallpaper is so cute. And I'm like, oh, great, but that's something I wouldn't think of that was important. But a parent, they just like that their kids enjoy and have fun. So I think more people are going now, but we still have a huge, I still would say at least, 50 to 60% of patients still come from referrals. And even if it's not just, I need you to do the treatment, we have a lot of parents who, like, of special needs kids, who will just need a little bit more time. Because a lot of times our schedule, we can structure it to where I have a little bit more time just for the cleaning.
Mm-hmm.
And things like that. So a lot of times it just depends on the parent, but we still have a good percentage that come from referrals, especially ortho. We get a lot of referrals from the orthodontist for those like little premolar extractions, things like that, because they know we can do they know we'll be set up to do sedation for some of those kids.
And let me just I want to have a little bit of an issue, a little bit of beef, actually. To friends and family, stop asking me about your pediatric kids. Like, I don't know anything about them. Okay, I don't know about their teeth, eruption, nothing. All I do is literally contact, Dr. Hardin or any of my other pediatric friends and say, this is what I was asked. How do you help me out? So please stop asking me. I do surgery all day. I don't know. I have 2 kids that I sent to a friend who's a pediatric dentist. I don't do their dentistry at all. I don't know anything about eruption dates. If anybody on here knows besides you, Dr. Hardin, please tell me, because I'm tired of people asking me like I'm supposed to know these things. That's why you're here.
Yeah, I don't know.
Wait, repeat the last part of the question.
Oh, it's not a question. It was no, it wasn't a question.
It was a statement to the people out there.
Yes, it was
Walter
literally
saying, I am a tissue management specialist.
Thank you, Gary, for that.
I don't see kids.
I don't do kids.
Stop asking me about kids.
Stop asking me about your kids. I don't do kids.
I'm going staticky again.
No, we were just saying that I don't do kids. Stop asking me about kids. That's why you, as a pediatric dentist, are there. And every time I have a question, I turn to you guys. I don't turn to my knowledge, because I have none. I turn to you guys.
Oh, hold on. Can y'all hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know why it was doing the staticky thing again. So basically, how do I do what I do?
No, he's saying thank you for doing what you do.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and I'm sorry for yelling and getting angry about that, but it was something that I had to get off my shoulder.
You got it off.
Oh no, it cut off again. Okay.
No, it's always doing your
my
I
rant.
know. It's always doing his rant, and he's like, so, and I see you, so you're being so passionate, but I don't know what you're saying. I feel like Finding Nemo. Okay, I can hear now, though.
It's all good. I feel good, actually, and I feel better for what I just did, So do you guys want to wrap it up here? And let's finish this. Do you guys have any other questions? Or any statements from you too, Doc, before we finish up?
No, I think just, encouraging other people who are considering, because I know we were talking about partnerships, to kind of look at it. I was told to look at it as if you were going into a marriage almost, because you are going to be tied to that person in so many ways. So really taking your time. I know it took us, as far as like the planning, before we even really like signed the lease or anything, we were kind of working on whether or not we'd even get along with each other for about a year or two. So it just, just to encourage other people, it can be done. Hopefully I'll be back on the podcast in like 2 years and I can be like, see, we still made it. We're still here. But just to encourage other people to kind of not feel like you have to stay inside of this box of what is the traditional way to do things. So you can kind of create the lifestyle that you want to create, so that would be my only thing. And definitely check us out on Instagram and come by and see us. I'll definitely be inviting all of you to the grand opening. Kyle, if you want to come, you can as well.
I might.
You can write it off, Kyle.
Yeah, it's a business trip.
Yes, that's right. It's a trip. It's a business trip. So, but yeah, so I'm really excited to be back and have a testimony. Okay.
That's it.
Nice.
That's it. And real quick before we get off, if anybody wants to watch, we have the YouTube page, and if not everybody has been watching the YouTube page, I think it adds, from what I've been told, it adds to the I want to say excitement of the podcast, because you get to see how we act and our expressions actually speak more than our words sometimes. So.
Absolutely. So
see, you got to put that on your Instagram. See,
I don't do that. I'm just gonna say. I'm just gonna say right now that it's if you go to YouTube and search "Truth Be Told" podcast, literally "Truth Be Told" podcast, you will find us. You'll see our smiling faces, and you'll see our angry rants. So that's what I'm gonna do.
There you go.
I have to go back and listen to the rant.
It's every episode. Just pick one.
Somebody's going off on one. Yeah.
Just pick one. I promise you, you'll have it. The last one was about what happened in Houston in Texas with the whole 1 inch of snow. So that was another, that was something else.
Well, thank you so much.
I had a good rant on that.
Thank you so much for coming on. I thank you so much for being a pediatric dentist, because in my mind, y'all are angels, and there's a special place in heaven for you.
I don't know how y'all do it.
That's right. That is true.
Thank you. I don't know how y'all do. Listen, I be like, I wish Gary was closer, because I don't want to do nobody root canal. Like, I don't even want to do number 8. Like, so I think about it all the time.
Sometimes Gary doesn't want to do other people's root canals.
Yeah. I walk into work and I'm like, oh, here we go.
I love it. All right, guys. Well, we'll talk soon. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.